Howdy folks, hope you've all had a good weekend and welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. I'm kicking off this week's episode with a rant. And yes, it kind of is about AI. Sort of. So, I received a notification from Amazon this week. You may be interested in this toothbrush. Really, Amazon? What makes you think I'm going to be interested in a holy shit, how much? I'm not making this up, right? £145, so probably in the region of $200 for a toothbrush. It's just a toothbrush. It's a stick with some bristles on the end. $200. If this thing doesn't also make me breakfast and then wash the dishes afterwards, I'm going to want to know why. Why is it $200? Well, it's an AI toothbrush. Because of course it is. Let me just set a little bit of context here. Because when I was a kid, there really weren't any electric toothbrushes. Well, I mean, they were, but they never really caught on. The first patent for an electric toothbrush was actually filed in 1937 in Switzerland, although the idea was never developed, it never caught on. The first practical electric toothbrush, again, per courtesy of a Swiss doctor in 1954, was developed and sold. But it was intended for people who had limited motor skills. You know, people for whom the physical act of moving the brush around their mouth and over their teeth with sufficient force to actually clean the teeth was difficult. Not just for lazy twats. And also it plugged into the wall, so it wasn't amazingly practical. But actual practical electric toothbrushes did start to hit the market around about the 1960s. They didn't really catch on in Britain and Europe, despite being technically invented in Switzerland until like the 80s. So when I was growing up, electric toothbrushes just weren't a thing. And when I first heard about this electric toothbrush thing with a rotating bristle, I was just thought, you lazy bastards. Just move your hand around. It's free and you don't have to rotate or change the batteries. I mean, oh my God. However, I do accept that an electric toothbrush, I mean, it's not just the lazy, it's not just a toothbrush for lazy twats. It is superior to brushing your teeth with a manual toothbrush. So when Amazon suggested that I might be interested in this AI toothbrush, and before I saw the price, my initial knee-jerk reaction was piss off, Amazon. Nobody needs AI in a toothbrush. But then I remembered I was kind of skeptical about electric toothbrushes at first as well. And, you know, they are actually better than manual toothbrushes. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And then I saw the price. But I persevered. I mean, what does this thing do that a regular or an electric toothbrush doesn't? So I had a look at the listing for this Oral-B Genius X electric toothbrush with artificial intelligence. £145. $200 to you on the other side of the pond. Holy shit. So what's so special about it? Well, apparently artificial intelligence recognises your brushing style and guides you to your best results each day. Alright, for the sake of argument, let's just let that one go and assume that it's true. Here's my question. How? The toothbrush is in your mouth. How can you be looking at the toothbrush when it's in your mouth? Well, of course, it's a toothbrush with an app for your phone. You're supposed to be, I'm not making this up, toothbrush in one hand, brushing your teeth, phone in the other hand, watching the display on your phone from the app, and then guiding the toothbrush to the spots in your mouth where the app is saying you need more work. So, you know, not standing in front of the bathroom sink and mirror, observing the proceedings, the way, you know, everybody brushes their teeth. Now, you need a phone and a fucking app to brush your teeth. Still not seeing anything here to justify the $200 price tag, so I read on. Protect your gums. Gum pressure control automatically slows brush speed and visibly alerts you. What? Are you telling me that people are so fucking stupid that they don't know to release the pressure on the brush if they're hurting their gums and they need an app to tell them? Are there seriously people out there who are brushing their teeth so hard every day that they are regularly drawing blood from their gums and exist in a quandary where they don't know how to prevent it and are wishing that if only there was an app to tell me what to do? I mean, is that the world we live in now? Well, apparently it is, because according to Amazon's listing at the time of recording this video, there's only 6 of these things left in stock. So people are buying them. AI is threatening to take everybody's jobs. It's certainly taken everybody's GPUs and memory chips. Inflation is out of control at such a degree that most normal people can afford food, rent, or a pension. Pick 2, because you can't have all 3, which means they're basically going to be working and living hand to mouth for the rest of their lives. And yet somehow, people have got $200 to spend on toothbrushes. While we're on the subject of AI, and the rant continues, a little over 1 year ago, OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman said the following in an interview. Advertising plus AI is sort of uniquely unsettling to me. I think of ads as a last resort for us as a business model. Slightly more than 1 year later, remember, this is coming from the guy who openly wondered how humans managed to raise babies before AI could tell them how to do it. Yes, that's right. Advertising will soon be appearing in ChatGPT for both free users and those who subscribe, or in other words, pay for the lowest tier of access. They're basically doing the same thing that Amazon did with Amazon Prime Video. Because I'd been using Amazon Prime and was an Amazon Prime subscriber for, 10 years, maybe more. Until they started putting adverts into the service that I was paying for, at which point I simply stopped paying for it. And Sam Altman thinks that getting customers, paying customers, to sit through advertising on a service that they're paying for is going to solve all of his financial problems. Because he does have financial problems. Oh boy, does he. Those of you who have been keeping up to date on the massive financial circle jerk that is the world of AI financing will be aware that in addition to all of the AI companies and chip manufacturers and so on, basically just investing in each other, shuffling the money around in a big circle jerk in order to make it look as if they're actually profitable. And while companies like Nvidia absolutely definitely are profitable because they're actually making something, the hardware that all of the AI is running on, companies like OpenAI are not. And while OpenAI did post revenues of something like $20 billion in 2025, and that's not nothing, I mean that is a lot of money, but none of that was profit because they've committed to spending trillions in order to secure investment from their partners. Trillions that they don't have. Trillions that they're never going to have. In order for OpenAI to raise enough capital to be able to honour the commitments that they've made from the investments that they've received, they would have to turn that $20 billion revenue, which is actually $0 in profit, to several trillion dollars of profit, not just revenue, actual profit, in the space of about a month and a half. And I only exaggerate slightly. This, of course, along with introducing advertising, is why their chief financial officer last month strongly hinted that they wouldn't say no to a government bailout. Wait, no, not a bailout, a government backstop. Nobody's quite sure what a government backstop is, but it sounds like a bailout, it looks like a bailout, and it tastes like a bailout. So I guess the American taxpayers are just going to go ahead and call it a bailout. Still on the subject of AI, on this side of the Atlantic, however, the head of the West Midlands Police Force, Chief Constable, what's his name? Craig Guildford, just resigned. What does this have to do with AI? Well, everything. Before I get into the details, however, let me just give you a little bit of history and background here. And it's kind of related, although not specifically. There's a YouTube channel that I used to watch quite a bit. It's called Legal Eagle. Like I said, I used to watch quite a bit, but, well, in the last couple of years, he's just gotten increasingly politicised, and I don't really watch his stuff anymore. However, at the time, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, when large language model AIs were just really getting started, and people were using them for research. In particular, a New York law firm. I cannot remember the name of the lawyer. It's not really important. What's important is the lesson. By all means, use AI to prepare your cases, but have a real person check them first. And if you're putting your signature at the bottom of the page, you should probably check it as well. So this New York lawyer, he never actually personally handled the case himself. It was his law firm that was doing it. And one of his, I don't know, junior partners, associates, paralegals, whatever, used, actually I think it was ChatGPT. Yeah, let's say it was ChatGPT. I mean, hopefully it was, and I won't end up getting sued by Sam Altman because God knows he needs the money. So they used ChatGPT to research case history on this case that they were preparing to file in court. And nobody bothered to check the results. And you know what's coming, of course, don't you? In order to support the case that was being asked to prepare, ChatGPT started making up case law. It started completely fabricating the results of cases. In fact, the whole cases themselves, it just made them up in order to get verdicts that supported its own case. And it went further than that. I mean, that was bad. But what was worse was that it started making up laws. It started quoting legal statutes that didn't exist in order to support the cases that it had fabricated. And nobody noticed. It all got signed off and got presented to the judge. When I say nobody noticed, the judge did. Oh, he was not impressed. Now, this was years ago. This was in the early days of large language model AIs. So you'd think, you know, with 2 years of development, they'd have worked the bugs out by now. Enter the West Midlands Police Force. And the Chief Constable, Craig Guilford. So what happened here was that based on police intelligence, the West Midlands Police Force made the decision to ban Israeli football fans from a November 2025 Europa League match between Aston Villa, a Birmingham football club, hence the West Midlands Police, and I've never even heard of these guys, Maccabi Tel Aviv, an Israeli football team. And the West Midlands Police in general, and the West Midlands Police Chief Constable in particular, decided that based on police intelligence, which is a fancy way of saying we looked at what happened in previous football matches where these Israeli supporters had been involved in violent outbursts, and decided that we didn't want this to happen again in Birmingham, and so we banned them from attending the match. Seems perfectly reasonable. Yeah, except for one minor detail. Well, okay, let's say two. You say this police intelligence that they were referring to was the result of a 2024 match in Amsterdam where there was some fan violence. So one incident of supporter violence involving supporters of this Israeli football club. Although the Dutch police, you know, the ones who were actually there and did the investigating at the time, have questioned the West Midland Police Force's interpretation of the causes of violence at the match. But that wasn't the only match where there was violence featuring the supporters of this Israeli football club. There was another. In the police intelligence summary that supported the police force's decision to ban these Israeli supporters from attending the match, they quoted another game between Maccabi Tel Aviv, again played in Britain, but this time against the London team, West Ham United, in the Europa Conference League on the 9th of November 2023. But the game never happened. West Ham have never played Maccabi Tel Aviv. On that day, they were playing Olympiacos of Greece, and they beat them 1-0. Maccabi Tel Aviv were playing on that day, but they were playing against somebody in Ukraine. So what happened? Well, it turns out that somebody in the West Midlands Police Force was tasked with collecting an intelligence dossier on the activities of the fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv. And all they did was ask Microsoft Copilot to prepare a list of Maccabi Tel Aviv games that resulted in violence. And it just started making shit up. And the one and only football match where there was violence, the game in Amsterdam in 2024, even the Dutch police weren't convinced that the Israeli supporters were responsible for the violence. So what we have here is a police intelligence file that's been prepared by Microsoft Copilot that nobody bothered to check, and which the West Midlands Police Chief Constable used to ban people from lawfully travelling from one country to another and attending a football match. But it gets worse, because questions started to be asked. And on not just one, but two separate occasions, the West Midlands Police Chief Constable said no artificial intelligence was used in the compilation of the intelligence report. I don't think anybody doubts that no intelligence was used, but whether it was artificial or not is open to debate. Oh, and these comments, these assurances on two separate occasions that no AI was used in the preparation of the intelligence report, these weren't just off-the-cuff comments to the press, which, would have been bad enough. No. Questions were raised in the Houses of Parliament. One member of Parliament actually asked the Chief Constable, "Did your force just do an AI search and whack it into the report?" To which the Chief Constable replied, "No, not at all. We do a very comprehensive assessment." And he made this claim not once, but twice. So one of two things are going on here. He's either lying to members of Parliament, or he's so incredibly stupid and incompetent that he doesn't actually know the answer, and he's just winging it. So it came as a great surprise to absolutely nobody that he offered his resignation last week. Unfortunately, it was equally unsurprising that he refused to accept any responsibility for his police force's simple failure to fact-check Microsoft Copilot when it came to presenting intelligence reports that govern how the police respond to events on a national scale, and instead blamed it on the media frenzy surrounding his failure to accurately report the facts of the case to the Houses of Parliament. Yeah, that's what we're going to call it. In the old days, you would have called it either lying or just a staggering degree of incompetence. But we live in a post-truth society now. So yes, failure to report, that's what we'll call it. Just 2 months ago, Microsoft's AI CEO, Mustafa Suleyman, said it was mind-blowing that people aren't more impressed with generative AI. Mustafa, if you're listening, this is why. Still, it could have been worse. It was just a national police force using Microsoft Copilot to dictate policy without bothering to check the results. It could have been a lot worse. In other news, US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced this week that the Pentagon will begin integrating X's Grok AI into military networks. Yeah, Grok. The one that claimed it was Mecha Hitler. The one that is flooding X with generated pornographic imagery of non-consenting people, including minors. That one. They're incorporating it into Pentagon military computer networks. Nothing could possibly go wrong with that. Has nobody watched War Games? Don't worry, I'm fake laughing. The tears are real though. And on that thoroughly depressing series of bombshells, that's it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe enjoyed it is stretching a bit, but well, I know it's definitely given you something to talk about in the comments, and I look forward to seeing what you have to say. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.